For a while, we kept hearing about how Nikolas Cruz was affiliated with a white nationalist group. You hear about that? I'm holding in my baby brown libertarian fingers article from Politico. How white nationalists fooled the media about Florida's shooter. Turns out, had no connection to a white nationalist organization, but they loved that because therefore that meant he was a racist. Quote, law enforcement say they have no evidence to support this claim, and the rumor appears to have been perpetrated by the white nationalist trolls themselves, close quote. But you guys bought a hook, line, and sinker, didn't you? A student who witnessed the Florida shooting tells you who this student believes is responsible for the death of 17 people. Listen up.
It's a slew of emotion. It's anger, it's fear, it's confusion, it's grief. And I've just been trying to channel those all together into some sort of mad inspiration. I'm trying to get the message out that it is important to grieve, but it's also important to make sure the bad guys feel this in the polls and make sure everybody knows that their votes count on this. It's my astute belief that the blood of those 17 people is on Rick Scott's hands.
It is my belief that the blood of those 17 people is on Rick Scott's hands. I presume that's because the governor has not been a proponent of further gun control legislation that this kid wants. Let's follow that logic. There have been 52 people so far killed by handgun violence in Chicago. Is the blood of the 52 on the hands of Rahm Emanuel? Really? You want to go there? You want to do that? Unbelievable. The thing about John Lott's book, More Guns, Less Crime, which we didn't talk about, is that he argues, and it did a county-by-county study, the only researcher who's ever done a county-by-county study to look at the impact of gun laws and crime, and he argues that more guns, less crime. So if you are making it more difficult for lawful people to get a firearm, you are actually going to increase crime. So more people are dead as a result of restrictive gun laws, says John Lott. So it's not just a matter of the Second Amendment, although that's the most important thing. It's not just a matter of that. It's also a matter of lives being saved. The horrific event on Valentine's Day was described by a freshman named Haley Bentoncourt. I'll play you some of this.
I was in my creative writing class. I was in Miss Lapel's class. I just want to say thank you to Miss Lapel because she saved my life.
How did she do that? What did she do?
Okay, so we were writing love letters because it was Valentine's Day. The class was creative writing. So all of a sudden you hear, we're just like, oh my God, what is that? And my teacher's just like, oh no, I think it's just a computer card. So at first we didn't think of anything, but then we heard it again even louder. We're just like, I don't think that's a computer card. And then all of a sudden the fire alarm rings and we're just like, oh my God. So then we go outside the classroom. The whole hallway was crowded, like you couldn't move. I was right here, my teacher was right next to me, her classroom was right there. And all of a sudden you hear ba 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 in the stairwell, and then my teacher right away, she goes like this, she opens her classroom right away and she's like, everyone get in. If it wasn't for that, I think we could have all been dead.
You're listening.
I have a young lady in studio in front of me. Her name is Natalie, and she attends a private school in the greater LA area. And Natalie, school's pretty liberal, huh?
Very.
Tell me what happened to you. You had a very interesting experience. You were telling me about it.
Yes. So for over 25 years, my school had never hosted a conservative speaker, but every year they'd bring in super progressive, super left-wing speakers who would advocate for things like no borders, no industry, even no America first. So in order to kind of right that wrong, I invited a conservative speaker, Hugh Hewitt, to come and address the student body, which was a really positive experience. And moreover, before Trump was elected president, during his inauguration, we were forced to watch President Obama and President Clinton's inauguration instead of President Trump's. And campus is really, really exclusive to conservative viewpoints, and they have a new program that aims to expand diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus, but only so far as if you agree with their viewpoints, if you agree with the left-wing narrative, and they're very exclusive to conservative viewpoints, and they don't let students who are conservative share their voices or views.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I thought the whole point was to give you exposure so that you can make up your own mind.
Yeah, It seems like that would be the goal of education, but unfortunately today, both at the college and high school level, it's no longer.
How was Hugh Hewitt received?
Some teachers and students were threatening to protest and walk out, but they ultimately did not, and it seemed to be a relatively positive experience.
Well, he's such a reasonable person, and
exactly.
it seemed to me it's difficult for people to walk out on somebody like that if they really want to have a dialogue, because that's what he's all about.
Yeah.
I was invited to speak at Santa Monica High by Stephen Miller some years ago, and it took him a long time for him to be able to negotiate me to speak. So I show up, and I was in the office with the principal. Stephen was there, and I said to her, I understand that you are having a liberal speaker to, quote, offset my speech, to give balance to the students. She said, that's right. And I said, my understanding is you just had a union left-wing person in. Did you bring in a conservative to give a balance to that person? She changed the topic. And I mentioned another speaker that Stephen told me she brought in, and I asked again, did you bring in somebody to offset that person? And she didn't. And when I left, Stephen said, I've never seen her beaten down like that. I wasn't trying to. I was just simply asking questions. And she was hammering and stammering and stuttering and this, that, and the other. And the policy is when you bring in a conservative, the conservative has to have his point of view or her point of view offset with another point of view on the left. But liberals, no such offset.
Believe it or not, the administration said the exact same thing to me when I proposed bringing another conservative speaker, that we would have to have a panel to kind of offset and to let every voice be heard.
Unbelievable. Roughly, what is the tuition for that school you attend? Just roughly, per year?
Around $35,000.
Tell your parents that they should get their money back. It was part of it. Anyway, it's a wonderful school. It's a school with a great reputation. And I know people that have gone there, and they've all done well in life. And you can't be a dummy to go there. So congratulations, and stand up for your rights.
Thank you.
Larry Older here.